All right, let's talk about it. Your social media feed. It's just this constant river of information, right? Some of it's inspiration, and let's be honest, a lot of it is just noise.
You know the ones I'm talking about? Productivity hacks that actually work, life-changing habits, my go-to travel essentials. You see these titles flying past you like 100 times a day. And yeah, they're designed to grab you, to get that click. We've all been there.
So here's the real question. Have you ever been deep in a scrolling session? You close the app, and instead of feeling inspired, you just feel kind of worse, maybe empty, or even a little anxious? If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. And here's the thing, almost nobody tells you. That feeling, it's not an accident. It's actually a trap. And in this explainer, we're not just going to show you the trap, we're going to give you the two-part toolkit you need to get out of it.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll expose what's called the echo chamber trap. Then I'll hand you two incredibly powerful science-backed tools, self-compassion and hope theory. And by the end, we'll tie it all together into a whole new framework for how you think.
All right, let's get into it. Part 1, the echo chamber trap, and how your feed is quietly creating a distorted version of reality.
So let's pull back the curtain on how this really works, because this is the part most people miss. An echo chamber is basically a bubble where you only ever see stuff that reinforces what you already think. It's this sneaky two-part system. On one hand, you have the algorithm, which is designed to feed you more of what you like. On the other, you've got your own brain's confirmation bias, that natural urge to pay attention to things we agree with. These two things team up, and suddenly, you're in this perfect self-reinforcing loop.
And look, being stuck in that loop comes at a real cost. The research is pretty clear on this. It warps your perspective on the world, it actually makes it harder to think critically, and it can crank up your anxiety and mistrust. And the long-term effect? That constant reinforcement makes it incredibly difficult to understand or even connect with people who don't see things the same way you do.
But here's the hidden danger, the real kicker. The problem isn't just the algorithm out there. It's what the echo chamber does to the voice in here. It takes all that perfectly polished content, all that comparison, and it turns the volume way, way up on your own inner critic.
So that's what we're up against, and that brings us right to our first tool. If you want to fight back against that amplified inner critic, you need an antidote, and that antidote is self-compassion.
Okay, I know what some of you might be thinking. Self-compassion? Doesn't that just mean feeling sorry for yourself? Is it weakness, an excuse to be lazy? And, those are common myths, but the research paints a totally different picture. It's actually a huge source of resilience. People who practice it spend less time brooding over their problems, and instead of making you complacent, it actually boosts your personal accountability. This is a genuinely safe and practical way to build some serious mental strength.
And there's a really solid framework for this thanks to psychologist Dr. Kristin Neff. She breaks it down into 3 simple pillars. First, there's self-kindness. Pretty straightforward, right? It just means being as warm and understanding to yourself as you would be to a good friend. Second is common humanity. This one's huge. It's just recognizing that messing up and feeling pain is part of the human experience. It connects us. And third, mindfulness. This is about noticing your negative emotions without getting totally swept away by them.
And honestly, just wrapping your head around this framework is a massive step forward. Seriously, most people go their whole lives without ever thinking about their internal dialogue. You're already way ahead of the curve just by being here and learning this. So, nice one.
Milestone for social smarts.
Okay, so how do you actually do this? Let me give you a super simple, totally doable exercise. It's called the self-compassion break. Next time you feel that stress creeping in, just pause. Step 1, acknowledge it. Just say to yourself, okay, this is a moment of suffering. Step 2, connect. Remind yourself suffering is a part of life. Other people feel this too. And step 3, offer kindness. You can literally place a hand over your heart and just say, may I be kind to myself. That's it. It's a tiny little reset you can use anytime, anywhere. Okay, so self-compassion is our defense. It's how we protect our inner state. Now we need an offense. We need a way to move forward. And that brings us to tool number 2, hope theory. This is an active strategy for actually building the future you want.
Now this is where things get really interesting, because we're going to redefine the word hope. For most of us, hope is just a wish, a passive feeling. But in psychology, it's something totally different. According to the researcher C.R. Snyder, hope is a, and I'm quoting here, positive motivational state. It's not just wanting things to be better, it's the active cognitive belief that you can make them better. It's a skill you can build, not just a feeling you have to wait for.
And just like self-compassion, there's a brilliant strategic framework behind this. Snyder's theory breaks hope down into 3 essential parts. First, you need goals, clear ideas of what you're aiming for. Second, you need pathways. That's the ability to come up with multiple routes to reach your goals, not just one. And third, you need agency. That's the motivation, the I can do this belief that you can actually use those pathways to get where you want to go.
So how do we make this practical? Well, we can turn this theory into a super simple tool called hope mapping. Here's how it works. Step 1, identify your goal. Get specific about something you value. Step 2, generate pathways. Brainstorm at least 3 different ways you could get there. Having options is the key. And step 3, plan for obstacles. For each of those paths, think about what might get in your way and how you might handle it. See, this isn't just daydreaming. It's actually strategic life planning.
Okay, let's just take a breath for a second and recognize what just happened. You now have a complete mental toolkit. You have self-compassion to manage your internal world, and you have hope theory to direct your external actions. To be blunt, you've just equipped yourself with more practical psychological tools in a few minutes than most people learn in a year. That's huge.
Milestone. For social smarts.
So let's put it all together. Let's look at your new framework. This is about a fundamental shift from being a passive consumer to becoming an active architect of your own mindset.
Think about it like this. Before, your role was pretty much a passive consumer of your feed. And the tools you were using, whether you knew it or not, were comparison and self-criticism, all fueled by that echo chamber. But now you can step into the role of an active architect. And your new tools? They're self-compassion and strategic hope.
Now, this is an incredibly powerful shift to make on your own. But what if you could take this entire toolkit for your inner self and outer world and just supercharge it with the power of the right people? Well, there's actually a fascinating new area of research, an extension of hope theory, that's being called We Power. And it's all about how the right social support can radically accelerate your progress, helping you find those pathways and keep that sense of agency. It's a huge topic, and we're definitely going to do a full breakdown of that in a future explainer.
But for now, if you found this explainer useful, just think for a second. Who in your life could also use this? Who do you know that gets stuck in that doom-scrolling loop? Because sharing this with them could honestly be the most compassionate, most genuinely useful thing that pops up in their feed all week.
If this touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family. Save this for more meaningful content ahead.